Okay, so today we're going to go over acrylic paint. Right now you've probably already taken your paper and you've labeled all the different sections. Now what you need to do is you're going to pause the video and you're going to go get some paint. But I'm going to tell you how much paint you're going to get. Okay, you're going to take one of these trays and you're going to only go into the cabinet. You're going to get a little bit, just a little bit, as you can tell, it's not a lot, it's not even going above, of two different colors. Now there are two containers, small containers, of black and white. You're scooping a little bit of white and you're going to scoop a little bit of black. Okay, so pause the video, go get your paint. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about different things that you can do with acrylic paint. Now acrylic paint is pretty cool because you can extend it. You can make it go further by adding some water. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about changing the colors, okay, and extending some paint. Now the paintbrushes that you've picked up, you have a combination of flat and round, alright? These have different, honestly, do different things. Round ones are great for small areas to get in. The flat are great for sharp edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a flat, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I want to take the center and I want to paint it, okay? I'm not going to use a lot of paint. I'm going to use a very little amount of paint. So we're going to come in and we're going to add a bit of green. Now when you go through, you're going to be very careful to not go over the drawing. You want to go right up to edge. Now at some point it's going to feel like you're running out of paint. Do not go back and try to add more paint. Just take your paintbrush, get it wet, and just liquefy it, okay? Alright, see how fast that now goes once we add some water? Beautiful. Okay, so with your project you're going to have to change colors. Now, let me move this out of the way. When you're trying to lighten a color or tint a color, okay, what you would need to do is you're going to start with the white first. Okay, so I'm going to take some white, add it into my spot. Then add your darker color. So then I'm going to add a little bit of green. Because if you start with green and then add white, you're going to be there forever. Okay, so we have that. Now I want to make that a little bit liquid. There we go. And we're going to just paint in the top up here. Now, you want to be very careful around the wet paint because you don't want to pick it up. If you're worried about it mixing, then what I would suggest is just let it dry. Then you can go and paint it. There we go. Okay. A little bit more on this side right here. Beautiful. All right. Now we want to tint it. We want to make this darker. Now, it's a little different with this one. Instead of starting with the black, we're going to start with the green. So we start with some green. Then you want to add a very little black. Black will overtake it very fast. Should I need a little bit more? Okay, goes really fast. See, there we go. And we're going to paint this section. Now remember, don't go automatically grabbing more paint. Just grab, more water. So you can see it's starting to get a little dry, a little thick. Okay, so I'm going to grab some more water, and then it's really going to extend that. Okay, see how fast that goes? Now you can see that this is a monochromatic, okay, one color, but you're able to make colors dark and light. Okay, so now into some other different ones. Now this first one, what we're going to do is we're going to have to kind of start this and we're going to come back to it, okay? Alright, so this first one, I'm going to take my other color and I'm going to let this sit here and let that dry. Alright, so we're going to come into these. These are different techniques for putting texture. Alright, so first one is dabbing. Dabbing, kind of like dab around. Okay, we're going to go with the opposite color that we got going on here. And what's going to happen is it's just going to kind of like mix. And this is good for any kind of textures that you might need. Alright, next is Sgraffito. This one's really interesting because Sgraffito is just a fancy word for scratching into the paint. So you can add some details into that. Pretty cool. Now splatter is not about us flicking the paint, alright? All you need to do is just take your paintbrush, make sure it's got some, a good amount of water on it with your paint. And you take it and you're going to flick it back like this. Now this kind of goes everywhere, all right? If you want to control it, you can cover areas. See? Nice control. Dry brush. We gotta pretty much dry this brush off. Okay, so I'm gonna take my water, dry it really good. And what's gonna happen here is you're just gonna very barely touch the surface. So I'm gonna take my paint, okay, just pull it straight up. Just very carefully getting the edge. This is great for like grass or any kind of texture that you just want it to be a little rough. How's this going? Oh, that's perfect. Now, the cool thing about acrylic paint is that if you mess up, tomorrow you can fix it. You can paint over it. Or if this is the kind of what you want, take your paint and paint straight over. Very helpful. By the way, if you want to do like a whole background and then paint straight on it. All right, last 3 sections. This is all about the blending, and you can easily practice this on the back as well if you feel like you're not so good at this. All right, so wet. We're gonna actually work with a wetter brush. We're gonna work with a dry brush, but both of them, we're gonna use another brush for this one. Okay, so I'm gonna take some green paint. I'm just gonna let this kind of fade out. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna add water. I'm gonna fade this out. Okay. Keep adding more water, and it fades right on out. Pretty cool, right? Very nice. This one, a little different. This one's gonna go from one color to the next. Move this over. So I'm gonna put one color down. Then I'm gonna quickly wash my brush. Add the other one here. Okay, and I'm gonna grab that other brush. I'm just gonna, almost like I'm barely petting it. Go from one to the other. Okay. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. All right, last one, streaking. By the way, this is not tushies running around. Definitely not the different kind of streaking. Definitely not something that I want to see in class either, by the way. Okay, but the painting streaking, that's cool. What we're gonna do is we're gonna wet our brush, okay? Start off with some paint, and we're gonna kind of like take it and streak it out, okay? Quickly switch our paint, liquefy it, okay, so it's nice and wet. Go from the opposite side, kind of go in. And what's gonna happen is, just it being wet is gonna mix, okay? So it kind of gives it a nice streaky look. And if you want, you can easily practice these on the back side once your paper is wet. Okay, so review. Painting. Be very careful when you're painting in areas that are solid. You can definitely let things dry. Tinting, adding white, darkening, okay, making a shade, add black. Remember, add white, then the color, then black. You can always paint over it. Dabbing is a great texture. Sgraffito, scratching it. Splatter, not slapping like this. Nice and controlled. Okay, dry brush is very carefully going on the top. And then we have the blending. So we'll start with one color, then we add water, and we just kind of let it dissipate out. The dry one is add straight on, add another one, get another brush, lightly paint it, well, excuse me, lightly pat it over, okay. Streaking is great, okay. We add kind of streaks, let some openness go over it, and it'll mix together. And those are all different things you can do with acrylic.